and a narrow alley of an old coastal town where salt air clung to everything and fishing nets dried like spiderwebs on the walls, there lived a boy named Ravi who could not speak. He was born silent. No cry at birth, no babble as a toddler, no first words to delight his mother, doctors shrugged. Neighbors whispered curse or gift from the sea. Ravi's mother, a widow who mended sails for the boats, simply loved him fiercely and never once treated his silence as a lack. Ravi communicated with gestures, drawings on scraps of paper, and most of all with his eyes. They were large, dark, and impossibly expressive. When he was happy, they crinkled at the corners like crescent moons. When he was sad, they grew deep and still, like tide pools at dusk. The fishermen learned to read those eyes better than any map. Ravi says wind from the southeast tomorrow, they'd say after he stared at the horizon for 10 minutes. And they were always right. Ravi spent his days on the jetty, legs dangling over the water, watching the boats go out and come back. He collected things the sea gave up: green glass smoothed by years, a brass button from some lost uniform, a tiny porcelain doll's hand with one finger missing. He kept them in a rusted tin under his bed, arranged like treasures in a museum only he understood. One winter the storms came without mercy. Wave after wave slammed the harbor wall. Boats were smashed, nets torn. The town's livelihood washed away in gray foam. The fishermen gathered in the small tea stall, faces gray as the sky, talking in low voices about moving inland, about giving up the sea. Ravi listened from the doorway. He said nothing could say nothing, but his eyes burned with something no one had seen before. Not sadness, not fear, determination. That night, while the wind screamed and rain lashed the tin roofs, Ravi slipped out. He took only his tin of treasures and a small kerosene lantern. He walked to the farthest end of the jetty, where the concrete ended and black rocks began. The sea was furious, throwing itself against the stones like it wanted to erase the town. Ravi stood there a long time, soaked to the skin, lantern flickering in his hand. Then he opened the tin. One by one he took out his treasures and threw them into the waves. The green glass, the brass button, the porcelain hand. Each one he held for a second, as if saying goodbye, then released. The sea took them greedily. Ravi watched until the last piece vanished. Then he turned, walked back through the storm, and went home. He crawled into bed beside his sleeping mother, shivering but calm. The next morning the storm broke. Sunlight cut through the clouds like a promise. The fishermen went down to survey the damage. They expected ruin. Instead they found something impossible. All along the harbor wall, caught in the cracks and crevices where the concrete met stone, were dozens, hundreds of small, perfect things the sea had returned overnight. Fishing hooks, nails, coins, lures, even a child's silver anklet that had been lost years ago. The sea had gathered what the town had lost over decades and laid it out like an offering. The men stared. Then they began to laugh loud, disbelieving laughter. They gathered the things in baskets. Some they kept as luck charms, some they sold. Enough to buy new nets, new planks, new hope. Word spread. People asked how it happened. The fisherman pointed to the jetty and said, Ravi went out in the storm. He gave the sea his treasures. The sea gave them back multiplied. No one understood exactly. Some called it a miracle. Some said the boy had made a bargain with the waves. Ravi's mother only smiled and kissed his forehead. Years later, when Ravi was grown and still silent, he became the quiet keeper of the jetty. Children brought him their lost things, marbles, keys, friendship bracelets, and he would hold them a moment, then toss them gently into the water. The townspeople no longer laughed at the gesture. They watched with respect, because they had learned what Ravi knew without words. Sometimes to get back what you need, you must first give away what you love most, without expectation, without anger, without keeping score. The sea remembers. And sometimes, when you have nothing left to hold on to, it returns everything. Plus interest. Ravi never spoke a single word in his life, but the harbor never forgot his silence. And every time a lost thing washed up on the rocks, the fishermen would smile and say, Ravi, send it back.